I'm Sue Kelly, and I've been teaching in mainstream secondary education for over 20 years. As a deputy head, I'm always looking for new ways of improving the teaching and learning in my school, making sure that children get the best out of their education and ensuring that we meet their needs. Today, I've come to the independent Brighton Steiner School, where children are taught in a very different way.
Hello. Good morning, Sue.
It's very nice to meet you again.
I'll be finding out where those differences lie and looking for any new methods and practices to take away with me.
Because we've consolidated in various...
My guide for the day is teacher and business manager Damien Moonsey.
So what we decided to do...
Damien, I've really been looking forward to coming to a Steiner school, but first of all, can you tell me, what is a Steiner education?
To capture it in a nutshell, Steiner education is a curriculum form that really wraps itself around the developing child to nurture their process of childhood to adulthood. And the responsibility of the curriculum is to bring alive to the child key points of learning at age-appropriate moments.
Damien, there's a general view that the Steiner school is either run by hippies or is a cult school. That's both in the teaching profession and general public.
Traditionally, the education has been viewed, and certainly during the 70s, was very PR'd in the sense that if you are a hippie, then this is going to be the education for you. But I think that's to dumb down the whole educational question and to do parents a disservice. I think the reason why you have such a huge variety of choice in the educational sector at the moment is a reflection of the freedoms that we all enjoy as adults.
I'm interested in the many practical differences between my own mainstream school and Brighton Steiner. The school offers its own unique Steiner Waldorf curriculum in addition to the GCSE and OCN syllabuses. And there's no head or deputy head teacher. All management responsibility is held equally and shared amongst the staff and the school.
So arms up, little push, deep breath in, and there you go.
The Steiner Day starts with an energising music and movement session designed to motivate the students and focus their minds before the lessons begin.
Try and get it really sharp. Okay, imagine you're riding a really fast racehorse. Are you ready? Up to the head like a ping pong ball, up to the head like a ping good. Up to the head like a ping pong ball, ahead like a ping pong ball. Ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong ball. Ping pong, 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 breath. Ping, 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 pong. Oh, it's beautiful, fantastic.
The main morning lesson's about to begin for class 10. It's poetry. It lasts for about 2 hours, so I hope the concentration levels are high.
Close your eyes, you need to. Transport yourself into the centre of Brighton, or remember a time that you were in Brighton. Think about, how would you describe this in a poem? What kind of phrases would you use? What kind of words would you use? Is it a glorious place? Is it a beautiful place? Or is it a dark, dangerous, corrupt place? Okay, a couple of minutes then.
Every day begins with the study of a single subject for a cycle of 3 to 4 weeks. The students work in mixed ability groups and are encouraged to help one another with their learning.
What kind of words did you come up with to?
Two most popular places in the middle of Brighton, the lanes in Churchill Square.
Crowds, music, street performances.
Seagulls.
Seagulls, okay, you got the seagulls, yeah, cawing away all the time. What else? Sam?
Small, very colourful spotted shops. Smoke and music and laughing and, you know, all that sort of thing. And just the bamboo bar.
Very colourful. Good. So what I want you to do is I'd like you to look at both of these poems and particularly look at the language. What language does Blake use in contrast to Wordsworth's language, and what effect does it have on the poem? Look a little bit at perhaps Wordsworth's background and Blake's background so that you can talk about the influences that they were under and how that affects the poem. And then bring in your own personal opinions. Okay, use the notes that you've got.
What's this one called?
This one's called Composed Upon Westminster Bridge.
When the children have shared their ideas, there's nothing being written down on the board. In the state sector, the staff will be writing all those things on the board, the ideas, so they could be shared and used later. They're going to complete quite a complex activity using that. They're going to be making a comparison between a Wordsworth poem and a Blake poem, which is quite a difficult thing to do. They haven't got anything there to guide them. They've got no modelling. Earlier, he used a really good modelling technique where he used their own experience of Brighton to write down and jot down creative thoughts about that.
And there's like
So?
Ray Davies wrote Waterloo Sunset.
Oh yeah.
There's also another sort of...
True. We could look at that song, perhaps, Ray Davies's Waterloo Sunset. Do you all know it? Yeah. Okay, that's written from a bridge. He's looking at London passing by. What's going on? I think it's written from a bridge. Yeah. He probably took the idea from Wordsworth, though.
One of the things I find fascinating is that in this school, this is like an A-level class in mainstream school. I think the lack of uniform maybe is one of the factors in that, but I think the major one is that they are so focused and they are so able to work independently. Part of this learning to learn, and I think although mainstream schools are actually moving towards that, I think they've got a lot to learn from Steiner on how to achieve that.
Okay, one of the major differences between Steiner and the state system is exams. What does Steiner do in terms of exams?
We don't have any form of focused assessment in terms of asking students and pupils of any age to sit an assessment, whether it be SATs or CATs. The first experience that our students will have of an exam setting is when they sit their mock GCSEs in Year 11, our Class 10. I mean, it comes back to the element of freedom that we want to have there for the child in themselves. Freedom to explore their education without placing an anxiety of a testing system upon them, which is there really for the teacher or the educational system to make sure that its pupils are progressing substantially and suitably according to its parameters.
What's the number of that group? Two. It's a plural.
So in Steiner schools, do you face challenging behaviour from pupils?
We are a small school. We have 200 plus pupils in the school. So therefore, statistically, it presents itself less than it would do in your school. But of course, we have the whole spectrum of difficulties, whether behavioural or learning support, that need to be addressed.
How do you deal with the challenging behaviour?
We have all of the standard policies that you would see any school incorporating, simple detentions through to suspension and exclusion. We also have a policy of fraternity or of brotherhood, that we are all humans engaged socially together under one roof. We may all have different ages, but there is an expectation of when you come together as child and adult that there is a common meeting ground. You're all standing on the same ground, and your behaviour should be individual, but nevertheless in keeping with one another.
After the main morning lesson, the upper school students go into subject lessons. These lessons follow the Steiner Waldorf Curriculum or the GCSE or OCN syllabuses similar to mainstream.
We need then to agree that past participle with whoever is doing the action.
It's interesting to see that while state schools actively embrace the use of technology in the classrooms, the Steiner School in Brighton still sticks to chalk on a blackboard. I'm getting a feel now for the Steiner School system, but now I want to find out what the students think. I'd like to ask you first of all, what do you like or dislike about the school?
I like the fact that in this school in particular it's very small, so you know most people and the teachers, and you've got a very good relationship with the teachers.
I like the freedom of the curriculum. So there's you do lots of different things. Like in maths, we're doing the GCSE, but we also, if we get ahead of schedule, we've been doing like alternatives maths, stuff called projective geometry, just sort of other stuff. So it's not all the, it's not the national curriculum.
So I do have friends who are in the mainstream school and not in Steiner, and you talk to about school?
Some of my friends it doesn't appeal to them, this school, but others, they say you don't know how lucky you are because, they can see from an outside point of view that it's, much more friendly and they prefer it.
I was really impressed today to see a lesson going on for 2 hours where you focused and concentrated for a long period of time. And you were doing quite high-level work there.
The reason why it's more quiet in the classes and why everyone's focusing more is because we have a relationship with the teacher, we have more respect for them, and you know, we can understand how it feels for them if we start misbehaving and things. Whereas then if it's just someone who you know by last name who comes and teaches you a certain subject, that's all you know, you're not going to feel the same empathy for them.
I mean, one of the things that outsiders view with Steiner is that, there is no hierarchy. There's no head teacher, there's no deputy in the role that I perform in a mainstream school, and that, everything's decided by committee and that the pupils, the students have an input into that. How do you feel about that? How does that work?
Well, here we have a college of teachers, which is most of the teachers who make decisions, and then there's a chair that moves around through that. But if we have a problem with anything at all within a school, we can send a letter to them, and they'll look at it and then get back to us. And also, because we've got quite a good relationship with teachers, you can just talk to the teachers if there's problems, and they'll go say you have a class guardian, and then there's like an upper school committee for the older and younger ones, because it's good.
So you've painted this fantastic picture of Steiner. It's wonderful. Come on, dish the dirt.
We are one of not very many classes in this school who've actually had the same teacher, because lots of time teachers have to leave for their own personal reasons. But our teacher carried on through. But it can be difficult with that. If you don't get a teacher you don't get on with, then you're stuck with them, basically.
Things take a long time in this school, and it can be quite disorganised, but I mean, it still gets brought together in the end, but it's quite disorganised. And also some people don't like it because there's so little amount of students. You're always around the same people, and especially if you've been here for years, it can get quite hard.
It's been really interesting speaking to the students, and there's just time for one final chat with Damien before I leave. What do you think I could take away with me from today about the Steiner school system?
I think by broadening the time that you deliver lessons in, so with the main lesson to allow a core area of 2 hours each day to a subject, you build some leisure into the learning, and you also open it up so that all sorts of other influences can come into play. Another key thing would be releasing some of the teacher's responsibility to again allow the student the freedom and the individuality to develop their own discipline, not only towards their learning but towards themselves, so that they're addressing social issues. And lastly, to meet your students on an equal footing, and to actually allow the educational setting to be their place, to be their home, so that they come in freely, you have no truancy, that they're comfortable here, and that the students and the teachers enjoy an equal relationship.
It's the end of the day, and I've a much better understanding of the Steiner education system. I'm envious of their freedom from the constant pressure of exams and target setting imposed on mainstream schools by the national curriculum. The students here seem to really value their education and appear happy and engaged. I think the staff truly respect the students, and the students in return truly respect the teachers. It's mutual. And whilst there are some staff in mainstream schools who follow that principle, there aren't enough. And these are the things we should be aiming to achieve in mainstream education.